Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly pop culture wrap-up. That's right everybody, time for the weekly pop culture wrap-up. It's the show where I go over the week's pop culture news, mostly comic books and movies. Let's get right into it, but first of all, I gotta give a big shout out to Alex Inkster. Alex, thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. We truly do appreciate your support, and you've helped us buy new software and buy new light bulbs and 9-volt batteries. Things like that are very, very important. So we appreciate your support over at Patreon, your continued support. So this is your shout out. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, Alex, you're a superstar. So let's get it right into the weekly pop culture wrap up. Let's start with some comic book news. Straight up, the only big comic book news we got this week is that the Uncanny X-Men is coming back in November. We already knew that, but now we know that it's coming back as a 10-part weekly series written by Kelly Thompson, Ed Brisson, and Matthew Rosenberg. It's basically what Marvel just did with Avengers No Surrender, where they did that 16-week, series that kind of took care of the last remaining dangling plots from the last few years. That's basically what's going to be going on with this. Thompson, Brisson, and Rosenberg, and an assortment of awesome artists are going to be basically wrapping up all this stuff post-extermination, getting things ready for a bold new direction for the X-Men. I am super excited. We've been talking on this channel and over at the PCP Army on Facebook a lot about who is going to be taking over this Uncanny X-Men. Lots of different rumors, all the way from Jonathan Hickman to Chris Claremont. I always said I thought it was going to be Thompson, Brisson, or Rosenberg, and it's all three. So how about calling it in the air there? Anyway, I'm super excited for this. I think the X-Men books have really been in the need of a big shakeup, so something like this is going to be really, really cool. I thought No Surrender was a great story, and it was a great wrap-up to everything that had been going on in the Avengers, kind of post-Secret Wars until then. So I'm really excited for something like that for the X-Men to happen, and I don't think there could be better writers right now in the industry for this project. I think it's going to be really cool, and I'm very, very excited for it. And of course, you can check out my thoughts on it at the weekly comic book review the week it comes out. That's going to be so fun. Very excited. Here's a little rumor that we want to get to right now. It's reported by Bleeding Cool. This is just a rumor. This is not confirmed. But that Greg Rucka is going to be doing a Lois Lane book for the DC Black Label line. I think that would be so awesome. Greg Rucka does a really good job, especially when he's over at DC doing woman characters. His Wonder Woman work is amazing. His work with Renee Montoya when she was a Question was awesome. On his Batman work, the character of Sasha Bordeaux, and of course the creation of Batwoman. Big deal type stuff. So I'm really excited to see what someone like Greg Rucka, who to me is a highly respected writer. I respect Greg Rucka so much. His level of research, his dialogue, his pacing, the flow of the books. I love so much of what Greg Rucka does. I'm very, very excited for this news. And I think it's about time for Lois Lane to get a true spotlight once again. She's seriously one of the top female characters over at DC and has been for 70 plus years. So I think it's about time, and I think it's a great idea, and doing something that focuses on her with Rucka on the Black Label line, that could be really, really cool. Let's jump on over to some movies and TV news. First of all, we talked about Batwoman just a second ago because Greg Rucka helped create that character. Well, Ruby Ross has been cast as the CW's Batwoman. CW is doing a Batwoman series, kind of, I guess, part of their Arrowverse type thing with Supergirl and Black Lightning and Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow and all that stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of the CW shows. In fact, I kind of gave them up cold turkey a couple years ago, and I haven't felt better, to be honest with you. But I think that a Batwoman series could be really, really cool. Seriously, especially since the CW's been skirting away from Gotham City and just right around it this entire time. Entire seasons of Arrow were just Batman plot threads from Denny O'Neil and things like that, right? But I am not familiar with Ruby Rose or her work, but the little bit that I have read about her work and her life seems like she's going to be a really good Kate Kane, a really cool Batwoman. It seems like she's kind of in line to do that. It seems like from the little experience that I have that she's going to do a good job, and I'm kind of excited. I'm probably going to definitely check it out. Speaking of the Warner Brothers, so Warner Brothers is developing a Supergirl film. They haven't done a Supergirl film since that one from the 80s, which, a lot of people maybe remember fondly, but I don't think it's as good as we remember it, because when I watched it in my adult life, I was like, ugh. That's pretty bad. But I remember being a kid and really, really liking it. But a new Supergirl movie, I think that's cool. I think it's a cool idea. I think Supergirl's a character that deserves her own movie, and I think it could work, and I think they could really work today as opposed to the back then, especially when they were just making those Superman movies really cheaply, and they weren't really putting much effort into them. They were just, it was a cash cow. They were just milking it, right? But I would rather have a Man of Steel 2 first. That's what I would prefer that. I would prefer another Superman book, another Superman movie, because I feel like you got to really establish Superman. And as much as I love movies like Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, and not so much Justice League, I just don't feel like Superman's been established cinematically at that level that Christopher Reeve was at. But who knows, man? If you make a good Supergirl movie, you make a good Supergirl movie, and I'm down for it. But do not make the mistake that the TV show did in its first season and shy away from Superman. Supergirl is obviously tied into Superman's origin, so embrace that and go along with that, right? It doesn't mean you have to have Superman in the movie, but just embrace it, right? That's what I think. Anyway, here's another little thing for the rumor mill. This is not confirmed by Warner Brothers, but the Birds of Prey movie that Margot Robbie's doing is going to, I guess, have Harley and Ivy and I think Catwoman or something like that. I don't know, something like that, right? No, actually, there's a whole, Cassandra Cain's going to be in it. That's kind of exciting, right? That's all the things we're hearing. Black Mask as the villain. That's just a rumor. We don't really know if this is confirmed. Warner Brothers has not confirmed that, but I'm not super excited about this Birds of Prey movie because I'm not a Harley Quinn fan, but I'm a huge Cassandra Cain fan, and Black Mask, man, like, can you just give us a Cassandra Cain movie with Black Mask? I'd be totally cool with that. Hasbro plans on doing a Power Rangers sequel. So Hasbro takes over the rights to the Power Rangers franchise in 2019. No word yet on new toys. You know me. I'm a huge Power Rangers fan, so we'll definitely be talking about that. But that last movie didn't really hit. A lot of people really weren't expecting a sequel. Hasbro said, no, we're going to go ahead and go with it and just do what we do. So no word yet on if they're going to try to get the original cast from that movie back. I'm sure they will. I'm sure that won't be too big of a deal. I didn't really like that Power Rangers movie. Our PCP movie night is up, so if you type in Pop Culture Philosophers Power Rangers movie, I'm sure it will pop up. I didn't really like that movie that much, but I did like the toys. I thought the toys were cool, though the Mastodon had way too many legs. Anyway, it's confusing to me that they would do a sequel, not just do something new, but there's so many reboots and relaunches and sequels now, I think it may just be the safer bet to go ahead and make an awesome part 2. Because there are plenty of franchises out there that have a weak part 1, but get really good at part 2 and 3 and on. Harry Potter, for instance, I think now that the first Harry Potter movie is very, very strong, but when I first watched it, it didn't grab me, but it wasn't until part 2 and 3 where I really got hooked, it became a Potterhead. Then I read the books, and then that really kind of cemented it. But now I'm talking about Harry Potter and not about Power Rangers. Anyway, so there's a Power Ranger sequel coming up. That could be cool. I mean, this one would obviously have the Green Ranger, so you do the Green Ranger story, and maybe that's another idea. Don't do a reboot, just do a sequel, no matter what, even if you have to get different actors, just because you can do the Tommy stuff. You can do the Green Ranger, the Green with Evil story. I mean, that's really like where Power Rangers started shining, at least for me, right? So Star Trek 4 is in danger of losing its 2 Chris's. Apparently there's a Chris problem over at Star Trek and Paramount right now. Star Trek 4 has possibly lost Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth. That's going to hurt them. Apparently it's all down to contract negotiations. They don't really want to spend too much money on actors and or, just the budget for the movie because Star Trek is not quite the franchise that they wanted it to be. First of all, I think that's a high expectation on Star Trek. You guys know me. You know that I'm a huge Star Trek nerd. But the movies have never been Star Wars. They've never been Mission Impossible. They've never been Transformers. They've never really been that level. And the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie kind of hit, and it hit big, and it was cool. But then it really kind of died out. Like, I seriously still haven't seen part 3. And it's because, to me, I hated Into Darkness. But I really hear good things about Beyond, and I'm definitely going to check that out. I was excited for Star Trek 4. They're still going to do it. They'll probably recast, but more than likely what I think they're going to do is they're going to renegotiate and work something out with Chris Pine. Because, dude, you're Captain Kirk. And you should be Captain Kirk. But if he doesn't want to be Captain Kirk, I can't fault him because the Star Trek franchise is nowhere near where, like, Wonder Woman is right now. Nowhere near what other action franchises and sci-fi franchises are in Hollywood. So, I get it. But I think that the expectation on Star Trek is too high right now at the studio. That's just me. I feel like Star Trek is so different from Star Wars. And in order to make it successful as a movie in the past, they've had to kind of Star Wars up Star Trek a little bit. Inherently, the concept of Star Trek is so different from the concept of Star Wars that you can't really do that and have success for a long time, because then ultimately, even if you make a good movie, you just get accused of ripping off Star Wars. So I don't know what to do with Star Trek. To be honest, one of my favorite Star Trek movies is the motion picture. I think it's the truest to the Gene Roddenberry concept, and I love it. I love that directing by Robert Wise. Not a popular opinion, though. I want to say that. But they are in danger of losing Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth, who was going to reprise his role as Kirk's father. I think Hemsworth's done then. If this is the case, I think Hemsworth is done, but I think they're going to renegotiate. I think Pine will be back. I don't think we need to worry about that, but who knows? And if they lost Chris Pine for sure, who should be Captain Kirk? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, I want to talk about this new Oscar category. I used to be a big Oscar head. Like, it was knowing Oscar trivia and watching the Oscars every year was something I was really into. Haven't been really for the last 10 years or so, but they're adding in a new category for for outstanding achievement in popular film. Basically, this is trying to make the Oscars more appealing to just the everyday movie-going audience, right? And they've always kind of gone with this. Back in, like, just a few years ago, they did it by expanding the Best Picture category from 5 to 10. And I guess they thought that that would add more movies that people were familiar with into the Best Picture category. And that's definitely what this is. It's very similar to me with what the Grammys did. I remember watching the Grammys every year with my parents and being like, I don't know anything about these artists or these albums that are winning. Like, I remember Bob Dylan, was it Time Out of Mind or something like that? Like, okay, today, as an adult, I listen to that album and I love it. I adore it. It's a great album. But when I was a kid, I didn't care about the new Bob Dylan album. I didn't care about that kind of stuff. So I never really liked the Grammys because they didn't really reflect the music that I and youth culture were taking part in. And then I remember the year where Carlos Santana's Supernatural won everything. And it's kind of like an ode to Santana. And it was a fun album. But it was like, from that moment on, it's all pop music. It's all popular stuff. I think they're trying to do that with the Academy Awards. I don't think the Academy Awards are going to work so much for that. I think it's going to be silly. I think basically they just want to give an award to Black Panther because obviously, I mean, what else is going to win this year? We still got a lot to come, but it's going to be neat. It's going to be cool to see movies like, I mean, now we have the possibility of Marvel Studios and like something like a Star Wars or Transformers, some kind of big giant franchise. We now have the possibility of one of those type of films winning an Academy Award for more than just sound and visual effects and things like that. And so I guess that's wild. I guess it's a way to be like Black Panther Academy Award winner, because it definitely should be nominated and it should definitely win, at least from this point. Because I'll be honest with you guys, and it's nowhere near the end of the year yet, but I think that might be my favorite movie of the year so far is Black Panther. Anyway, that's what we got for you this week. What do we got coming up at PCP? Well, no new podcast coming up, man. Seriously, it's still on hiatus. It's going to be a minute, but you can go back and check out previous episodes of the podcast if you haven't already, here on our YouTube channel and at popculturephilosophers.com. We just unveiled a brand new show called Robbie's Top 5. I feel so weird saying that because I'm Robbie. And it's so weird for me to say, welcome to Robbie's Top 5. Or just welcome to my Top 5, right? Anyway, the first episode, Top 5 Fantastic Four comics, basically comic book runs. It's out right now. The response has been tremendous. Thank you guys so much for your support. We really do appreciate that. That was awesome. Anyway, thank you guys so much. The live stream's not going to be this weekend. It's going to be the Monday after the Sunday that it typically is next week. Having lots of fun here. Thank you guys so much for your support. We're going to be bringing you more video content, and eventually we're going to get that podcast back going, and we're very excited for that. So thank you guys so much, and if you want to help that podcast get back sooner, the best thing you can do is jump on over to patreon.com/PCP and help support this channel and all that we do. But thank you so much. You support us enough just by liking, sharing, and subscribing. We appreciate everything. Thanks for rocking with us, and keep on pop culturing.